Dialogue. That's right. Dialogue can come off as exposition, or it can come off naturally, revealing the depths of the character, the backstory, their fears, among other things, their desires, and more. However, dialogue isn't just about moving the plot forward, it's also an essential tool for character development and world discovery. The things your character says, and sometimes the things they don't say, can speak volumes about their experiences, motivations, and hidden struggles. So today we are going to talk about using dialogue to say more natural exposition through dialogue. Because remember, every line you write, no matter if it's narrative or dialogue, must accomplish one or more of these three things: plot, character development, and world building. It has to move the plot forward. It has to build on character, like who are they, what are their thoughts, their positions, etc. And then, of course, it must build your world. Now, it doesn't have to do all three of those. However, every line can do all three, but they should do at least one of them. The problem is when you run into dialogue and it is just expository and these are all the things you need to know, it takes away from the story and just becomes plot. And plot can get boring. We need to experience the plot through the actual characters, their experiences, their choices, their challenges. And this becomes a full, complete narrative. Because remember, every narrative is made up of plot and story. Plot is what has to happen no matter what, and story is how it unfolds through the characters' experiences and choices. Now, of course, a lot of that is also, them being challenged and stuff like that. And that is why character development is all about learning what their positions are, challenging those positions, etc. etc. How do they react to things? But that's a whole other video. We are going to just focus on exposition in narrative, exposition in dialogue, and making it feel natural. But Thomas, why does a writer need to show backstory, fears, desires, etc.? It's funny you ask. You control the story of the narrative. Okay. Now, as we already said, narrative is both made up of plot and story, etc., etc. So the more we know about a character, the deeper the story becomes for the reader. Showing a character's backstory, fears, and desires is part of the process to add depth and relatability to your characters. When readers understand what drives a character, their past experiences, their vulnerabilities, and their hopes or potential positions on certain things, they are more likely to connect with the reader on an emotional level than sort of this empty creation that needs to do a certain collection of things. This connection, this emotional connection, is literally what keeps your readers invested. And they're like, hey, I want to see how the story unfolds through this narrative. Backstory provides context, and that's why on this channel we say show, sometimes tell, because you need context. However, the backstory that provides context for a character's actions and decisions, and also, I should say, the backstory that is provided, or the backstory that provides that context for characters' actions and decisions, make the character's choices feel more meaningful and believable. Fears add vulnerability, making characters more human and relatable, while desires create motivations, pushing them to take risks and make sacrifices. These are positions, all right? So where they stand on things, their thoughts, their ideas, their concerns, these are all positions. By revealing these aspects through dialogue, you can create multidimensional characters whose journeys connect more deeply with your audience. However, you don't want this exposition to become exposition. I've mentioned it several times on this channel, and it's very important to distinguish the two. I made up this term, and it's the way I teach my writers: character exposition versus exposition. Okay, you don't want exposition dumps or exposition for exposition's sake. An character exposition is when the exposition comes naturally through the characters and their story. So it'll even be influenced within narrative itself. I'm going to give examples of that and show a real-time example in this video. The problem is when it comes off into it's just this long block of stuff. We all know that's an exposition dump. Even if it's dialogue, it's no longer character exposition. It has to have narrative purpose to be considered character exposition. And we'll go over that. However, before we get into the big things, let's talk about 3 ways to hint at a character's backstory, okay? Offhanded comments about the past. Characters can casually mention something from their past. This is also known as seeding, without diving into a full explanation. This approach gives readers a glimpse into what shaped them without overwhelming them with information. For example, a character might say, "Haven't been to a beach this nice since I was a kid." You go to a lot of beaches? Not for a long time. My father loved them. He loved taking us. I'm not really a beach person anymore. All right. So, what does that look like on the screen? Let's give you a little zippity doo dah, zippity day. My oh my, what a wonderful day. Haven't been to a beach this nice since I was a kid. You go to a lot of beaches? Not for a long time. My father loved taking us. I'm not much of a beach person. So, this reveals, all right, this reveals a lot about the character without saying too much. This seeds and keeps it vague but informative. A very important rule in writing: vague but informative. All right. Now, haven't been to a beach this nice since I was a kid tells us about the present moment while hinting at the past. We know that they have not indeed gone to the beach in a long time, but they did when they were a kid. When the other character asks, basically, you go to a lot of beaches, they're doing what good dialogue should do. They're using a natural prompt or interest, a choice to invite more story. That character, you go to a lot of beaches, is making a choice to be interested in their friend. That is character development. The response, not for a long time. My father loved taking us, dot, dot, dot. I'm not much of a beach person. There are layers in family history, suggests emotional complexity and implies change over time, all without a single line of exposition. This is the subtext. This is emotional depth. This is character exposition. Now, if you notice how each speaker's line does double duty, not only does it move the conversation forward, but it also paints in bits of backstory, personality, and unspoken feelings. That's when dialogue works its best, when it is doing more than one thing. In fact, your scene should do more than one thing. Your chapter should do more than one thing. I've read chapters and or scenes where they were written for the sole purpose of going, I need to show that this character's nice, so I'll just have them doing a nice moment. And it's like, no. Your character is nice, so let their character be nice. You can challenge that niceness, their threshold for kindness, but don't develop a scene to show they are kind. Scenes need greater purpose, just like dialogue needs greater purpose. It can't be to explain one thing. It has to be to move the plot, develop the characters, and ultimately establish your world. Now, all right. Boop, 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 boop. Now, I want to focus on another point, which is dialogue in response to a trigger. Now, a trigger is not a negative thing. It doesn't, oh, I triggered him. I triggered him. A trigger just means that it naturally influences an emotional decision or change of emotion, right? So that doesn't necessarily have to be bad or good. It's just a thing, right? A trigger could, oh, that made me feel happy. I smelt apple pie and it reminded me of my family, right? That's a trigger. Could do the same thing, apple pie, and you're like, I remember my mom used to just, I'm allergic to apples. Why does she always buy me apple pie? Right? Oh, but it's your favorite, isn't it? No, it's dad's favorite, not mine, right? That's a trigger. But sometimes a seemingly small trigger, a sound, a place, or a phrase can prompt a character to reveal a snippet of their history. For instance, if a character hears a particular song, right? So here's an example where all right. Now, here we go. Jim lowered the volume. This song is terrible. I love this song, Chris said, turning up the music and bobbing his head to the beat. Could you drive the car and focus? Christ, he lowered the music. I thought you loved this song. He turned to Chris. His dead eyes started the conversation. It's Lisa's favorite song. Chris, with a casual reach, changed the station. All right. So, in this moment, this scene shows an unexpected trigger. That's the other thing, right? Allow casual, realistic moments to turn into something, right? But in this moment, we are literally in the middle of something. We didn't watch them get in the car. They didn't go, we got to go somewhere. They are in the car already. They are traveling somewhere. What's nice is it starts with a song. It's, how do we say? Something that starts with a song in a typical back and forth with two friends riding in a car with banter, one friend annoyed, one playful. But the real story emerges when we learn it's Lisa's favorite song. Okay, suddenly that simple irritation means something more. More importantly, this line allows the everything that you just read to be influenced by that. So this takes on a new context. Before we knew it was Lisa's favorite song, this was just two friends being friends. But there was more going on. There's a lot more going on. All right. It's suddenly that simple irritation means something more. And notice how the final revelation lands harder because we didn't see it coming. And how the friends respond, the friend's response, I should say, just quietly changing its station says everything without a single word. The support, the emotional support, the understanding, the empathy. They don't have to say anything. And that's important too. When writing out your dialogue in your first draft, allow it to come out. I could just have it say, Chris, oh, I didn't realize and I'm sorry. Let me turn this down. I can write that as dialogue in my zero draft, my first draft, hell, even my second draft. But your job as a writer is to say, well, how do I get the most out of the least? Right? Because you have a word count budget. And what is worth your budget? You always want your word count to be tight, right? So sometimes you have to say, is this scene worth it? If it is, how do I make it tight? How do I add some because now I took away a ton of dialogue. If I had written all that, if I had written Chris going, I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry, buddy. I didn't know this was her favorite song. Let me turn it off. All right. Chris said, changing the station. Right? So this is, what is it? 21 words, whereas this is 8 words. And that is a version of line editing and how to clean up your stuff. It's like, how do you say more with less? As long as it still contextually makes sense. And Chris, with a casual reach, changed the channel. That's all you need. That's all you need. That's all you need. But this is how you make ordinary moments reveal deeper wounds. Start with something small and familiar to the reader and to life. Then let it crack open to show the hurt underneath. Let moments naturally unfold in a rhythm. Okay. We don't just walk into a room, however we can. We can walk into a room and be like, I'm so pissed off. Victoria or whatever. Lisa ruined my favorite song. Like, you could do that. But you can play with scenes too and let them slowly reveal. Ooh, a slip during a hidden moment. All right. So here's the next. Let's look at the next one. Okay. So a slip during a heated moment should be like this is in a moment of heightened emotion. Okay. Characters may let slip something they usually would keep hidden. This is an effective way to reveal backstory because it feels natural. All right. So maybe something like this during a conversation. Let me get rid of this so you can see. Quintessential Dave, avoidant as always. Mom's in there dying, and you're out here making it all about you. How am I making it about me? This, he said, gesturing to his older brother standing there. Out here, when we should be in there. You think I want to be out here? The attention on me? What then, Dave? What do you want? I want Mom to be okay. We all do. Yeah, we all do. But Richard stepped closer. But what? You, Chrissy, even Albert. You've all had the last 10 years with her. Me? I've been gone this whole time. You were deployed. You had to be away. Dave paused, glancing up at his brother. I wanted to be away. I needed to be away. At the end, none of that matters now. Mom can't even hear us. Hear me. It's okay. She hears you. I should have been there, Dave screamed out. This should actually be like this. I should have been there, Dave screamed out, his dry face filled with tears of regret covering his face. He fought to hide the broken wall. The warmth of his younger brother wrapped around him in a tight hug. I should have been there, Dave whispered in his brother's shoulder. All right, so when we look at moments like this, all right, the scene begins as a typical sibling argument. Quintessential Dave. All right, cracks open to reveal the real wound. I gotta change that. Yeah. We all do, but what? All right, there we go. All right. We all do, mother humper. So the dialogue moves from sharp accusations to raw confession as emotions escalate. The power lies in how Dave's truth emerges, not in a calm discussion, but in a moment of pressure where he can't maintain his walls anymore. The final repetition of "I should have been there" transforms from a scream to a whisper, showing how anger often masks deeper pain. This is how you use conflict to reveal character. Push them until their defense cracks. Then let the real story emerge. If you look at this, it starts off really more as judgment, and slowly it turns into where Richard is actually having empathy and feeling things about Dave. You know? And that Dave used his deployment, which, by the way, Richard's like, oh, you were deployed. You had to be away. Turns out Dave used deployment to get away. He'll use joining the army to get away, but you don't have to say that. You don't literally have to say, I joined the army to get away from Mom, to get away from it all. Just, I wanted to be away. I needed to be. At the end, none of that matters now. Mom can't even hear us. Hear me. So all the reasons why he left in the first place to get away don't even matter now. It's important to look at your dialogue with strong moments like that, okay? What's next? Oh, one way to show a character's fear. Hesitation and uncertainty. Hesitation and uncertainty is super important. Super important. And let's do this. What would you do? Boop. Wait, is there nothing about this situation that's telling us not to go in there? What, ghosts? We're not children anymore, he said, stepping into the whole. Oh. Wait, is there nothing about this situation that is telling us to not go in there? What, ghosts? We're not children anymore, he said, stepping into the old house. Come on. Right. What's the worst that could happen? Mike said, following behind his friend. Ghosts aren't real. Ghosts aren't real. Oh, I'm down on the ground. So fear speaks through hesitation. Okay. Instead of saying I'm scared, the character literally asks, is there nothing about the situation that is telling us not to go? It should, right? The character is saying, I'm scared, I don't want to go in there. But they're saying it in their voice. They're saying it in their choice. They're trying to represent themselves through humor and logic and maybe sarcasm, right? It's a roundabout way of expressing dread. All right. But notice how defensive bravado, we're not children anymore, and self reassurance at the end, ghosts aren't real, actually reveal more fear than directly stating it. This is subtext too, by the way. So the power lies in what's unsaid. Each pause, deflection, and attempt at rationalization shows someone fighting their own instincts. When writing fear, let your characters dance around their terror. Their awkward attempts to avoid admitting it will say more than screaming every single word. Just saying. All right, what's next? Oh, one subtle way to convey their deepest desires. All right, let's do this. Now, what I like about this is it's important to always see it. It's important to always play around. So you want to hint through small wishes, right? A character express their desires through small, seemingly inconsequential wishes. Let's do it. Are you looking at videos of Italy again? Her husband leaned down over her shoulder with a large smile. What? She said, smiling as she turned off Instagram. A girl can dream. That sure would be a nice vacation if only you took off work from around the 4th of April. Oh. He said, leaving the room with a jolly tone. No, you didn't. She chased after him. All right. So there's a couple things Oh my God. There's a couple things happening here. So big dreams can hide in small moments. All right. All right. So a girl can dream isn't just about Instagram. It's about a deeper wish, right? Then comes this casual mention of the 4th of April. And suddenly we see the whole story. He's been planning her dream trip all along, right? It shows their relationship. It shows the history of their relationship. It shows their empathy. It shows that they listen. It shows that they communicate. It shows that they pay attention to each other. And none of that has to be said. I've just saved pages of word count. My word budget has been reduced greatly by inferring important information through behavior. So this is showing some telling context, Italy, when they're going to go. Okay. A girl could dream. Okay. And this is how you reveal character desires, not through grand declarations, but through quiet moments that suddenly crack open to show the love. All right. Now, I do want to say this. Let's look at exposition, and then let's break it up a little bit, okay? All right. I need us to get down the street and get groceries for dinner. Din tonight. How many people? Oh, just you and me. Nope. Your brother, his new girlfriend, of course. Oh, and of course, your mother is coming too. Well, ever since my dad divorced her and got with a younger man, she's been all over the place. Can't blame her. They've been married for over 40 years. All right. So this is like exposition hell. All right. I don't really consider this story. This is plot. This is what plot looks like. I need us to get down the street. I need us to go get groceries for Din Din tonight. All right, just you and me, right? Like, this is a weird question, just you and me. All right, but it's a unnatural way to go. Nope, your brother, his new girlfriend, and of course your mother is coming too. Well, ever since my dad divorced her and got with a younger man, she's been all over the place. Can't blame her. They've been married for over 40 years. Now, you ever hear the term start in the middle? This is all BS. This is stuff we don't need to know about. This is stuff you don't have to prepare the audience with this information. The story unfolds by revealing this information through the behavior and choices of characters. Okay? Another way to approach this, if I may. All right, is this. Okay? Start off in the middle. Sarah cut up the carrots, tossing them in the pot. Her husband adjusted the heat on the stove for their spaghetti. I can't spell. All right, spaghetti. All right, carrots, tossing. Okay. All right. Your mother called. She's coming. She's coming. Your mother called. Your mother called again. Okay. So, your mother called again. Oh, or you could go ahead. She's coming tonight. Let's see. All right. Let's say Mike asked. Mike asked. His voice. Yeah, Mike asked. Mike asked. Stirring the spaghetti. All right. So now what we're doing is we're setting up the scene without going too deep into it, but now we're allowing behavior to show. So Sarah cut up the carrots, tossing them in the pot where her husband adjusted the heat on the stove for the spaghetti. Your mother called. So we're showing them cooking together. We're showing them in process. We're showing them move. They each have their own responsibility. So we're learning something about them before we even say anything. Your mother called again. She's coming tonight, isn't she? So we're establishing pattern. We're establishing routine. She's coming tonight, isn't she? So her calling means that she's coming over again. We don't have to explain that, right? My guess, stirring the spaghetti. I don't have to say anything right now about the thing. We'll be fine. Won't ruin the night. You have more confidence in her than I do. All right. So now we're creating behavior. We're seeding and foreshadowing potentially something being ruined. We're potentially foreshadowing the dinner being ruined. Okay. You have more confidence in her than I do. I will say he kissed her cheek. All right. Walking past her. The cabinet. The cabinet, right? Okay, so now we got some movement, we got some character behavior. You have more confidence in her than I do, but he kissed her cheek, so he's showing compassion, love, and he's like, hey, it's playful. You have more confidence in her than I do. Walking past her, he grabbed the sauce from the cabinet. So we know that what they're cooking. We understand there's going to be a dinner tonight. Sauce. I spelled sauce wrong. Sauce. All right, there we go. I think I spelled that wrong too. Saving sauce. Every great writer has a great editor. I should technically call it gravy, but all right. He grabbed the sauce from the cabinet, pausing. Wait. Let's see. Walking past her, he grabbed the sauce from the cabinet. He paused, saying, saying, 2 boxes should be enough, right? Okay, now so this is where it comes in for. I'm not sure. Do you think your brother's girlfriend, new girl, will eat? All right, so Mike laughed. All right, Mike laughed. Where's dinner with family? Make a good impression. All right, he smiled. We should make a salad just in case she doesn't want any. All right, let's see. Sarah playfully slapped his butt. She'll eat plenty. 2 boxes. All right, so we're seeing personality come out. We're seeing their relation come out. Maybe I should make this a little bit bigger. I'm not sure how big it's looking on there. Okay. There we go. All right, so Sarah cut up the carrots, tossing them in the pot while her husband adjusted the heat on the stove for her spaghetti. Your mother called again. She's coming tonight, isn't she? Mike asked, stirring the spaghetti. We'll be fine. She won't ruin the night. He kissed her cheek. You have more confidence in her than I do. Walking past her, he grabbed the sauce from the cabinet. He paused, saying, 2 boxed. 2 boxes should be enough, right? I'm not sure. How much do you think your brother's new girl will eat? Mike laughed. First dinner with the family, make a good impression. He smiled. We should make a salad just in case, she asked. In case she doesn't want any. Sarah playfully slapped his butt. She'll eat plenty. 2 boxes. All right. Pulling the 2 boxes from the cabinet. All right. He walked over to the stove and tossed it in. All right. Have you talked with your dad? All right. Sarah. Sarah set the table. All right. So what's happening here is, okay, instead of it just being this is just information. We're letting that information play out. We're now creating a scene, some movement. Okay. All right. The dad thing is because the mom was mentioned, is coming over. She's alone. Have you talked with your dad? Sarah set up the table, right? Set the table. Now, a couple things are happening here. Have you talked with your dad? Well, we just found out that the mother is coming. She's coming tonight, isn't she? We got like right into it, okay? And we'll be fine. Blah 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 blah. And now we're at the dad. So we know that the kids are coming. There's a new relationship. The mother's coming. Have you talked with your dad? So this may indicate by seeding there's potentially something wrong, right? And you could just, instead of saying not after the divorce, right? All right, right. He's busy. He's busy. Uh, this new young guy, man. Young guy. Sarah sat down at the table, adjusting the utensils. Yeah, utensils. All right. Sarah sat down at the table, adjusting utensils. Seems a bit selfish. Not keeping. Son. He's talked with Chris. He's fine. All right. He's talked with Chris. He's fine. I don't need to hear from him after he left mom like that. All right, so that says a lot more, and there's a lot more movement to the scene, and that's how you should be approaching dialogue, is in a way that allows information exposition to breathe through not only the behavior, but allow it to be seeded through the scene. You want it to kind of play with things. All right, your mother called, now introduces the information slowly. She's coming tonight, isn't she? All right, that's almost that's like again. All right, or at all, we'll be fine. She won't ruin the night. So there's a chance that something's going on where she might be. This is like behavior and relationships with each other, the wife and the husband, right? The 2 boxes should be enough. This is just like a general conversation, right? But that leads to the information of the girlfriend, and then he has first dinner with the family, make a good impression. He smiled. We should make a salad just in case she doesn't want any, right? Okay. She'll eat plenty, 2 boxes. So the boxes, the spaghetti, all that is just information to move us into the brother and sister thing. It's to keep the story moving. Have you talked with your dad at the table? Right. But there's a beat between that. Pulling the 2 boxes from the cabinet, you walked over to the stove and tossed it in. We allow a beat for all of this tonal element, okay, about the girlfriend to play out. Then there's a beat, and then there's a tonal shift. Have you talked with your dad? Sarah set the table. Right. He's right. Not even. No, right. You just have to do it. Right. He's busy with his new guy. So the tonal shift is it happens. So you want to create a beat like we just did. Okay. And then of course he's like, right, he's been busy, and then she seems a bit selfish to not keep in touch with his son. He's talked with Chris. He's fine. I don't need to hear from him after he left mom like that. So you don't always have to give direct exposition. You're allowed to infer things because we're leaving room for that next scene, which would most likely be the actual dinner, which most likely, so we're setting up enough information, enough context to allow the dinner to unfold through the story in a very naturalistic way. Okay. All right. Final thoughts. Very quick. Dialogue is more than just words on the page. It's a window into your character's soul. Be careful. All right. Be careful. You don't want to get bogged down with pure exposition just because you feel The audience needs this information. The best way to approach dialogue and exposition, just in general, is in your zero draft, your outline, your zero draft, or your first draft, even your second draft. You can write it as face value as you want. Just get it out so you know what it is, you know the context, whatever. When you're on your third draft, at minimum, your third draft, go through and say, how do I seed this information? How do I bring this information and spread it backwards and forwards? How do maybe I can take this information and create a scene that takes away this long scene that is just there to explain this thing? Can I allow this to become moments in other scenes and let those breathe and let those develop? And that's when you start doing the real work. Because remember, great writing is rewriting. All right. So be careful. Okay. Be careful. Don't allow the exposition to just consume your pages. Think about how you can break it up and seed it backwards and forwards and even into the moment. By carefully crafting what they say and what they leave unsaid, you will reveal their fears, desires, history in a way that feels more natural and compelling. People don't speak directly, occasionally, but not often. Great dialogue isn't about what's being said. It's about the emotions and motivations that lie beneath the surface. Keep experimenting with your dialogue. It's all made up. You could keep changing it. You could keep playing with it. You could try different things. It's not about being afraid to let your character's words carry the weight of their experiences. It's okay to see, how can I say this without saying it exactly as is? Maybe I could show it. Right. And I'm not talking about they're angry, so they squeeze their fists in their face furrows. I'm talking about, how can you show, like, for example, the relationship with these people, right? Right here. Okay. Sarah cuts the carrots, tossing them into the pot while her husband adjusts the heat on the stove for the spaghetti. They are literally making dinner together. They are cooking together. That is showing. All right. That is showing. That's what I'm talking about. That is showing their relationship. Kissed her cheek. You have more confidence in her than I do. Obviously, they're being playful. Walking past her, he grabbed the sauce from the cabinet. He paused. Right. But Sarah playfully slapped his butt. She'll eat plenty. 2 boxes. Again, they have a really playful relationship. That is what showing looks like. But the emotions are there. Even your mother called. She's coming tonight, isn't she? There's a subtext in there. Okay, there's a subtext in there. All right. Next video in the series. Actions speak louder than words. This playlist is going to allow us to talk about group conversations, writing engaging group dialogues that avoid confusion and keep the reader not only interested, but having a clear flow of dialogue and knowing who and what is speaking. Question. How do you use dialogue to reveal your characters in the world? Are there any unique techniques you love for hinting at backstory or showing vulnerability? Let us know in the comments below to help us grow as a community. And obviously, if you haven't already and you love what you've been watching, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. Other than that, keep developing the right mindset. I'll see you next time.